Hello and welcome. This is our weekly review program where we are going to bring to you major events over the week. And I'm Gamechisa Mendida, joined by my colleague Afok Ubetu. And our topics are tree planting events over the week and macroeconomic reform analysis, paleoanthropologists' reflections on Lucy, that makes Ethiopia land of origin, and Ethiopia's bilateral relations with different countries. Stay with the rest of our programs, and we'd like to say again to you, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've had a good week.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're having, more seedlings planted in different parts of the country. And of course, the aim is to combat climate change. And the significance of planting seedlings has been identified. People all over the world, and Ethiopians are also into this more than ever, and different institutions, government officials and individuals have taken part in planting seedlings across the country. And of course, what I have here is the one that is led by Deputy Prime Minister Temesgen Truna, which he engaged with refugees, and it is part of, planting 100 million seedlings, across the country. What else do you have on this?
Thank you, Gome. Yeah, as you said earlier, this tree planting, the Green Legacy, is one of the greatest achievements that the Ethiopians, together with the Ethiopian government, have achieved so far, by the way. Because the Green Legacy is not only a task to Ethiopia. The Green Legacy, especially for the agriculture-led economy, is very essential, especially in tackling climate change and global warming across the globe. The tree planting has absolutely tremendous role. So the Ethiopian government initiated that one, and so far more than 40 billion, actually close to 40 billion seedlings have been planted actually, and still we're planning again to add more as well. And when absolutely we do that, the forest coverage in Ethiopia will be boosted, as I told you, because the Africans and especially the whole globe is now suffering from the global warming. So to tackle that, we're now trying our best. So the tree planting, especially for the agriculture-led economy in Ethiopia, is very essential. That's why we're now doing our best as well. The role of Ethiopia in different status quo should be tremendous, just to be recognizable as much as possible.
You cannot say, planting trees or planting seedlings is, for a certain group of people, limiting them, in age, in status, in interest even, and whoever they are, as far as, they are citizens, they need to engage in it. And as you said, one thing that we lack is looking after, the seedlings planted. People, plant the seedlings and just they go away, and that is not helping much. What's important is, of course, following up the growth of, just these seedlings.
Previously, I think many of us have participated in planting trees.
Yes.
Everyone recognizes that. So even at Addis Media Network, actually, the staff members planted trees. You covered this on air previously, actually.
Yes.
So Ethiopians are participating very much in planting trees. So the next step will be simply checking whether these trees are growing or not, and looking for another bare land, especially. We can go to the lowlands, as I told you a little earlier, just to plant more and to bring about a tremendous change in the ecology and atmosphere in general as well.
You're right. Okay, so shall we go to the next topic?
Yep.
Yeah. The next topic is, the macroeconomic reform, implementation of the macroeconomic reform. People have been, responding to this implementation of macroeconomic reform in different ways. And we would say there is, some kind of misunderstanding or misconception that is prevalent among community members, including, the business community and just people like you and I. So I think that must be, made clear to the people. And regarding this, of course, City Mayor Addis Ababa, along with State Minister of Fiscal Policy and Public Finance in the Ministry of Finance, Dr. Eyob Takaling, have had in this week, a meeting with the business community and, of course, the leadership, the city administration's leadership. And there has been, a very interesting, communication between the two. And issues have been raised by people, by community members, by members of the business community. If we start with, what Mayor Adanich has said on this occasion, the reform, intends to bring about, sustainable development. She said that we cannot sit, okay, and just watch, the old way of doing things in terms of, our economy. We need to come in and then, do something about it. Be part of the world, part of the rest of the world.
This idea is absolutely interesting idea, and it's a matter of debate and perhaps a matter of talking elsewhere you go. Different scholars, experts, and ordinary people like you and me are debating over that actually. But still, something should be clear as much as possible. The first one is, economic reform. It's, a reform that definitely paves way for the economic development of a country. It's not simply, it has not come out of a blue moon. This type of reform has been actually tried in many parts of the continent, Africa and Europe as well. So Ethiopia has never tried that, but it's the first time Ethiopia just went into such type of reform.
We've been having, bottlenecks.
Yeah.
Bottlenecks to the economic growth of the country. The first one is, of course, the government has been, putting control over this dollar per transaction. And the second one is accessibility of dollar to the business community in Ethiopia has also been, very much limited, which means, the country had, limitations in ensuring, access to the dollar to its business community. And as a result, the import-export market has been, highly hindered. So the government is, just coming in, which is, characterized by avoiding or leaving, controlling, the dollar per transaction. Okay, and the other one is providing importers and exporters with the dollars they need. So by doing this, the government intends to enhance import-export market, and at the same time enhancing, the manufacturing industry in general. We know that so far we've been, more importing than exporting. We just relied on, inputs or items, that we import from abroad. And the government is insisting that, this has to stop. And this happens, of course, this is possible when the business community in Ethiopia have easy access to dollar. Okay, so previously, even though, just the government wanted to control the dollar per transaction, it is, this the informal market or the parallel market, just that dictates the market in general. And as a result, people, rather than, just going to the bank and then, buy dollars based on what has been decided by the rate decided by the bank, they just go to the black market or the parallel market in order to access, the amount of dollar, just they need to do import and export transactions. We need to have, through time, step by step, some kind of, unification between the bank transaction and the informal market transaction in terms of, birr dollar exchange. So far, the National Bank's bureaucratic approach in the provision of dollar has been, one huge bottleneck, one significant bottleneck, for import-export market. But now the government eases this. And when this happens, of course, people will have a chance to come in and then, buy the amount of dollar they need. And in this reform, Ethiopia has secured $27 billion. Actually, it's not something that free falls right now. It is, through time that, just the country will have, access to this amount of money, this $27 billion, in the course of time in the future. But now, in the first phase, it has got, a proportion of it that allows it to invite businessmen and women, just to go to the bank and then purchase dollar using, the Ethiopian birr, so that, the government ensures that, business people in Ethiopia will have enough dollars to do both, the import and the export market transactions. There were people who benefited from the previous transaction before this reform is introduced. But now the government is trying to change that. This again tells us that people so far have not been gaining just the kind of benefit just they wanted to gain from this the previous transaction. I mean, the government, needs to come in, needs to take measures. Otherwise, things would go wrong. People would get, hurt by what's happening. So people should be responsible, and at the same time, people should know that this reform, comes for the benefit of every one of us. But there are people, who want to misinform, to disinform other citizens, for their own advantages.
Yeah, right. So you were saying that's a great point, right? It's not simply the responsibility of the government. The Ethiopian people should participate highly on that as well.
Yeah, awareness.
Yeah.
There must be awareness.
Absolutely.
There must be awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness was not awareness activities. Were not made by the government. The government has kept, this reform a secret, for some time now. Even though the government started, this reform just a year ago.
There should be a systematic way of the interconnection between the government and the people. Because actually 2 weeks ago, the traders were about just to boost the price of things automatically. When now, after the government's measure, there is some progress. They're now simply taking out what they invest. They are now simply making themselves transparent as much as possible. So this is actually a task for all of Ethiopians, common for all. So that's absolutely recommended, I can say.
Yeah. One thing that some responsible business individuals advise to the public at large is that when business people or when the business community, raises, prices of items, you shouldn't go and buy. Don't encourage them, to raise prices. Just think and then decide, not to buy. Abstain from, buying items, that have unnecessary prices on them. This is, the advice from some responsible business personalities in the country. And the other thing that this reform involves is, the fact that, it's inclusive. It invites people from high class, importers and exporters, for example, traders in general, but also those people, especially, the civil servants. The civil servants have got, salary increase. Well, we cannot say it's adequate. The state finance minister has also said, of course, it is not enough. And it's inclusive in that there are safety net programs, for instance. These safety net programs, will allow low income individuals or citizens, to resist the shock that is likely, to arise from this economic reform. The government has also a plan, to engage these individuals with low incomes, to have, for example, trainings, to start, just their own businesses, not only, to make them, live, sustain life, with safety net programs, but also to make them, self-reliant through creating, job opportunities for them.
The civil servants, the employees in general, should be the target of the government from now on, much better than the previous one too, because when you have economic reform, it's not the traders who can be directly affected, but the employees, the civil servants, as you said. And I think the government recognized that, because this is a global trend. Wherever you go globally, you find the government simply initiated a banking app, a great support for the civil servants only, because inflation directly affects those who are dependent on the monthly salary. So the salary increment is very important. It helps actually the civil servants, but still there should be some modification as well, because when you compare yourself to the inflation that we may simply suspect, it may be quite hard. Anyways, there should be a strong measure taken by the government.
Yeah. Let's go to what Mayor Addis Ababa has to say on the macroeconomic reform.
We shall realize sustainable development. All we look for is having a prosperous nation. We must work to achieve an economy that is based on the resolute foundation with a persistent growth rate. As well, it should be inclusive. For instance, only through student sustenance programs in Addis Ababa, we benefited millions of city inhabitants. This is an investment on the generation, which blends the economic reform with the groundworks. Therefore, we can consider the fact that the reform is inclusive by its nature.
According to Mayor Addis Ababa, the newly launched National Comprehensive Macroeconomic Reform will stabilize the market and can make it more competent. It would help oversee the inflation within the economy and assure suitable investment opportunities, she added. The reform would, of course, raise the foreign exchange reserve, she remarked.
Foreign exchange rate was decided by the government, whereas the parallel market was deciding the rate in its own ways. We couldn't withhold its entire operation by controlling. On the contrary, we couldn't avail the bank provisions to Forex to the vast users as per their needs. This situation hinders the healthy growth of our economy. Market competence couldn't be achieved. In order to correct the mess and become market-oriented, the government decided to increase the Forex rate in amount to what's going on outside the banks. If the government makes it available on the needed rate, why does the business community search for the parallel?
We shall go to the remarks made by paleoanthropologists, which gave us, a description of Ethiopia's being truly land of origin. So Lucy has brought, different scenes. The 50th anniversary of Lucy has brought, as many as 240 researchers across, 34 countries. And they have made, reflections on Lucy and on Ethiopia's being truly land of origin.
These paleoanthropologists actually describe it that Ethiopia is the origin of human species on Earth. That's actually not new, because previously everyone recognized that Ethiopia is a historical country whose history dates back to millions of years, by the way, because 4.5 million years back Ethiopia was on her own history. So Lucy, the discovery of Lucy, and Hadar as well, and Saddam, the human species, the fossils which were discovered later than Lucy, which these all recognize that these all actually manifest that Ethiopia is really the origin of human species. So whenever you go, you don't actually simply recognize the fossils. You again recognize the history.
The discovery of Lucy means, different things even to these paleoanthropologists. Some say it allows us, to understand climate change and the changing environment, throughout these millions of years. And others say, it allows us, to see, to understand geological study of time cycles and sequences. And on top of that, what these paleoanthropologists find interesting is that, Ethiopia is good at having, an approach to preserve the heritage, its heritage.
As I told you, the manuscript is written manuscript, is the documents, is the fossils that you get in congregations in areas which are absolutely, which have got a long history, show that Ethiopia is historical. Actually, we recognize only Lucy.
Yeah.
But I recommend the anthropologists in general, just to discover much more in Ethiopia. For sure, the Ethiopian anthropologists and anthropologists from abroad may get an astonishing feature in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia has not touched still our right way. It's rich. It has a great potential in different aspects. So what will be the recommendation is go further and investigate much more in Ethiopia, and Ethiopia's history and Ethiopia's treasure has not been touched actually.
Yeah, by the way, the impact or the significance of research by Americans who discovered Lucy in 1974 is significant. And if such, research, are conducted with more effort, we don't know, we might have, something else more extraordinary than this. We don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one point.
Yes. So shall we go to the next one, which
The
is
last one, yeah.
the last one?
Oh.
Ethiopia's, bilateral relations with different countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. China, especially these days, China is approaching Ethiopia. I mean, the two countries, Ethiopia and China, are collaborating, okay, on other fields. I mean, politically, just they've had relations in previous years, but these days, their economic ties are getting stronger, which is a very good one. And the other partner of Ethiopia is, of course, Turkey. And Turkey's, foreign minister met with Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, over the week, in the last week, and the two discussed, issues in terms of economy, in terms of maybe political matters and others. So what can you say on that?
Yeah, Turkey. Ethiopia's diplomacy quite recently is growing up, actually. Ethiopia's diplomacy has been strengthened with many countries abroad. So that's really fantastic and should be strengthened much more better than this one as well. So the Turkey and Ethiopia diplomatic relationship is not a matter of describing it now here, but it goes, for centuries actually, because it has been very long that Ethiopia and Turkey have been in a strong ties diplomatically in different status quo. Quite recently, Ethiopia and Turkey are working together in many aspects. The first one is actually the economic one, the infrastructure or the environmental aspects as well. I think Turkey is the fourth in foreign direct investment in Ethiopia. So the Turkey investors are in Ethiopia. It's not only the tie between the Ethiopia and Turkey actually. We have the military cooperation with Turkey as well. So whenever you plan of having a diplomatic relationship with the country, you first of all design and plan of what kind of relationship you may have. So Turkey in this regard is the appropriate and perhaps the alternative diplomatic country for Ethiopia. So previously Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed met with the Turkey foreign, the diplomatic man of Turkey. So that shows how Ethiopia and Turkey are in a close relationship.
We have reflected on our topics.
Yeah. Today we discussed much more on the tree planting events, the green legacy in Ethiopia and the macroeconomic reform, and the other one is the paleoanthropologist's description about Ethiopia, about the fact that Ethiopia is the origin of a human species, right?
Yes.
So we have had a very nice time talking about that one, and the other one is the diplomatic relationship between Ethiopia and Turkey. Actually, Ethiopia has a diplomatic relation with many countries. So the Chinese delegation has also visited in Ethiopia. So these were important points for today, right?
Yes, you're right, Afork. I think we need to stop right here because we have time constraint. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Viewers, thank you very much for watching our program, and today's program ends right here. Next time we'll come up with new topics. Until then, goodbye.